Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and this is Just Genealogy. And over the past couple of months, a couple of things have come up a couple of times that seemed to me to be unrelated, and then all of a sudden I put them together in my head. One was Alfred University, which is in New York State, and it is a Seventh-day Baptist Church University. And the other was the Seventh-day Baptist Church itself. And at the same time, I remembered that there was some stuff I talked previously about how many Baptist denominations there were. So let me first talk about that. Let me share my screen for a moment. And what we have here is a PDF that can be downloaded from census.gov. It's a report from the 1936 Religious Bodies Report. So every 10 years on the 1906, 1916, 1926, 1936, and I believe 1946 also, there was a census done of religious bodies. And it talks about numbers of people in churches, how much ministers make, number of buildings, all kinds of information relating to churches. In the 1936 version, they consolidated things together, and they also provided information on various distinct denominations, if that's the right word for outside of Christianity, other religious bodies. But basically, they're talking about the history of religious bodies. And they have a consolidated report that deals with Baptists. And if you look at the table of contents for this report, it talks about all the different Baptist bodies, from the history, doctrine, organization, and work of Baptist bodies, and then the Northern Baptist Convention, the Southern Baptist Convention, the Negro Baptists, the General Six Principle Baptists, the Seventh-day Baptists, which is what I'm talking about today, the Free Will Baptists, and the United American Free Will Baptist Church is colored. And then there's a whole bunch of other. If I remember correctly, there's about 60 different kinds of Baptists. Now, some of them are huge, and some of them are not so huge. And there are two different kinds of Baptists in this time period, in the beginning of it all, in regards to Baptists in the United States. There is the animistic Baptists that are from New England, and the Calvinistic Baptists that are from the South, and eventually the Northern Baptist Convention will be of that New England flavor, and the Southern Baptist Convention will be of that Calvinist flavor. And the Calvinist means that, at least my interpretation of it all, is there's a set of Baptists who believe in free will and a set of Baptists who don't believe in free will. In other words, predetermination. So in specifically talking about the Seventh-day Baptists, you can go farther into the report, and you definitely, if you have an interest in this kind of thing, you can go through this. It is, in my mind, it's just so cool. When I first found this many years ago, I was a very happy camper. Not so much for the Baptists, but because of my interest in Millerites and Campbellites and those kind of bodies. So it talks about where they are, who they are, and those kind of things. But let me get to the Southern Baptists. And then after we get to the Southern Baptists, we can get into the Seventh-day Baptists. And I have collateral ancestors that are actually part of the founding of the Seventh-day Baptists. So it's of interest to me also. Now, what's a Seventh-day Baptist as compared to another kind of Baptist? Well, these are Baptists who believe that the Sabbath is on Saturday, which it is, and that is what should be celebrated in accordance with the Bible instead of the Lord's Day, which would be Sunday. So the Seventh-day Baptists, there actually were, it looks like, a total of about 68 churches and several thousand members. There's information about churches, facilities, expenditures about Seventh-day Baptists. So there are the statistics of the Seventh-day Baptists first, and then there are is information about the number and membership of the churches in urban and rural territory, membership by sex. There's schools by states. And then there is information about history, doctrine, and organization, if you have an interest in that. And basically what it says is from the earliest periods of the Christian church, there have been those who claimed in respect to the Sabbath that Christ simply discarded the false restrictions with which the Pharisees had burdened and perverted the Sabbath, but that otherwise he preserved it in its full significance, and therefore in loyalty to the law of God and ordinances. An example of Christ required continuance of the observance of the seventh day as the Sabbath. What we have is this. It starts out in Great Britain, and then it basically ends up that there will be about 30 Seventh-day Baptist churches established in Great Britain and Ireland, and then gradually it will end up in the colonies, and gradually it will end up as an American church. And it discusses doctrine, which I won't get into, organization, what kind of work they do. So what it allows you to do is to put this report allows you, in the case of Baptists, and there are other reports, allows you to put the religion of your ancestor in context. And what's interesting is, for me, is we actually have lots of books that deal with Seventh-day Adventists. First Alfred Seventh-day Baptist Church membership records are available. And it was the Seventh-day Baptists arrive about 1812, at which time they organized as a church. And they first formed then in 1816 as a church itself. And then they grow into what for about a century will be the most prestigious of the Seventh-day Baptist churches around. And education was such a high priority for them. And you note it even today among Seventh-day Baptists and Seventh-day Adventists and those who choose to celebrate the Sabbath instead of the Lord's Day, education seems to be very important to them. And the Alfred University, which was created in Alfred, New York, was one of the first to grant degrees to women, and it established a theological department for the training of ministers. And the church roll numbered eminent professional people in a wide variety of areas. This Seventh-day Adventist Baptist Church membership roll deal comes from the Seventh-day Baptist Historical Society, which is located in Janesville, Wisconsin. And the author of most of these works is Ilu M. Sanford. So she, I believe this was her first book on, and a lot of this deals with early Rhode Island families also, although this is a book about Alfred, New York. Then there is the membership records of the Seventh-day Baptists of Central New York State, 1797 to the 1940s, by that same author. And its statistics for Central New York State beginning in 1797, when Seventh-day Baptists were among the first settlers in the Central New York area. And that makes, of course, their records fairly valuable because they're the early folks. And the records that this contains include the Brookfield Group, which is First Brookfield, Leonardsville, West Edmonston, DeRoyer, the Scott Area Group, which is Scott, Lincoln, Truxton, Preston, Norwich, Ithaca, Newport, and Ocelic. The Verona Group, which is First Verona, Second Verona, Syracuse, and Adams Center area, which is Adams Center, Hounsfield, Watson, Richland, Diana, and Pinckney. And these are all places in Central New York. And it includes admissions, births, baptisms. This is not a group that does infant baptisms, so these are adult baptisms, deaths, dismissals, excommunications, places of origin, parents, spouses, and other biographical information. Then the next book we have by the same author, by Miss Sanford, is membership records of the Seventh-day Baptist churches in Western New York and Northwestern Pennsylvania. And again, these, like the others, are from the Seventh-day Baptist Historical Society archives located in Janesville, Wisconsin. And this is the third of the compilations, and it deals with churches from 24 towns in Western New York and Pennsylvania. So those are those three. Now, Newport, Rhode Island is where pretty much all began, and we have a book by Ms. Sanford on Newport's Seventh-day Baptist Trilogy, which deals with the documented history of the church itself, membership records of the First Baptist of Newport from 1671 to 1884, when the church ceased to exist. The repetition of the names of the list at different time periods may help to delineate family connections. And then there's a part 3 called Mother Hubbard's Cupboard is Not Bare, and it's a genealogical study of the descendants of Samuel and Tracy Hubbard, the most prominent family of their time and active members of the First Baptist Church of Newport. And guess where these came from? The Seventh-day Baptist Historical Society located in Janesville, Wisconsin. Now, truly, that wasn't the first book I ever came in contact with in dealing with the history of Seventh-day Baptists. There's also one done by Corliss Fitzrandolph on a history of the Seventh-day Baptists in West Virginia, including Woodbridgeton and Salemville churches in Pennsylvania, and then the Shrewsbury Church, which is in New Jersey. And I'm familiar with this because one of my best friends, a Marine, and I have been friends for a few decades. And he once came to me and said that his most of his West Virginia family was in this book. So I gave him the original book that we used to print this book from, the original pages. So interestingly enough, we have 5 books on Seventh-day Baptists, and them in New York, and them in West Virginia, them in New Jersey, them in Rhode Island, them in Central and Western New York. So, of course, I should really offer these books for a discount, and of course I can do that. So if I think the commonality is if it's a Seventh-day Baptist book, it'll be available for a discount of 40%, just because I'm in a really good mood. So these 5 books, 40%, and you don't have to buy all 5 and like my normal 40%. You can buy just one, whatever one you need. And the discount will be 7th. I need to write that down. I need to make sure that I never forget what a discount is. SEVENTH, 7th, in regards to the Seventh-day Baptist. My family that was Seventh-day Baptist moved out of New Jersey into Northern Virginia and then south into Washington County, Virginia. This is just Genealogy, and today we've been talking about a single denomination and the books that are available. If you're interested in that denomination and the census report that's out there also that talks about its history, its doctrine, its dogma, and what kind of work it does, and also numbers of people and facilities and those kind of things. So that's enough for today. Have a great day. Bye.